Time is life's most sacred currency. Unlike money, once spent, it cannot be earned back. It slips quietly through our fingers with each breath. Notice. And yet, many of us go through life as if we have an infinite reserve of it, as if tomorrow is guaranteed, and as if the things that truly matter can wait. How to master time management is not just a manual of productivity hacks or scheduling strategies, it is a quiet, powerful invitation to live more consciously, more deliberately, and more aligned with who we are and who we are becoming. The essence of mastering time is not about fitting more into our day, but about filling our days with more of what matters. This book opens with a gentle truth. Most people are not overwhelmed because they have too much to do, but because they are not clear on what truly matters. The busyness we often drown in is not a sign of productivity, it's often a mask for lack of clarity. Imagine a painter who tries to use every color on the palette in one chaotic burst instead of choosing the shades that align with her vision. That's what life becomes without intentional time management: noisy, cluttered, and ultimately, unfulfilling. The author begins by urging us to confront our current relationship with time. We are encouraged to reflect on how we spend our days, where our attention flows, and whether our hours are aligned with our deepest values. There is a beautiful anecdote about a man who, after losing his father unexpectedly, begins tracking how often he visits his own children. He realizes that if he continues at his current pace, he'll only see them a few dozen more times before they leave for college. That moment becomes a turning point, not just in how he structures his day, but how he redefines success. It's no longer about the promotions, the meetings, or the inbox zero. It's about being present for dinner, for bedtime stories, for the small, sacred moments that make a life well lived. From this emotional awakening, the book moves into the heart of time mastery: intention. We are reminded that time, unmanaged, defaults to chaos. But time, guided by clarity, becomes a tool for transformation. The author introduces the concept of the time value matrix, a powerful framework that categorizes our activities not just by urgency, but by value. High value, non-urgent tasks, like self-care, relationship building, long-term projects, and reflection, are where our lives find meaning. Yet these are often sacrificed at the altar of urgency. Mastering time means reclaiming these quiet, powerful spaces and protecting them fiercely. There is a deep dive into the myth of multitasking. The science is clear: we cannot focus deeply on more than one cognitively demanding task at a time. And yet, so many of us pride ourselves on our ability to juggle. The author shares the story of a high-performing executive who realized, during a sabbatical, that multitasking had not made her more efficient, it had fragmented her attention, diluted her joy, and numbed her presence. Her recovery wasn't just about new habits, but about healing her nervous system from years of overdrive. She began to practice monotasking, giving her full attention to one thing at a time. This simple shift brought profound peace and surprising productivity. The book gently guides us toward the practice of time blocking, not just as a scheduling tool, but as a ritual of self-respect. Time blocking is not about rigidity, it's about honoring your intentions. It's saying, this hour is for creating. This hour is for family. This moment is for rest. And once we begin to live in this intentional rhythm, life begins to feel less like a race and more like a melody. The author shares the story of an artist who, after years of creative drought, began blocking just 1 hour each morning for art, before emails, before phone calls, before the demands of the world. That 1 hour became her sanctuary. Within 6 months, she completed a project she had dreamed of for a decade. The lesson: small, protected time blocks, when aligned with purpose, can unlock dormant dreams. Another profound lesson is the idea of energy-based planning. Not all hours are equal. A task that takes 20 minutes when you're energized might take 2 hours when you're drained. Mastering time means knowing yourself, your rhythms, your highs and lows, your creative windows, and your restorative needs. The author invites us to map our energy through the day and plan accordingly. Are you most creative in the morning? Do you feel sluggish after lunch? By aligning tasks with your natural energy flow, you're not just managing time, you're managing your vitality. There's a moving story of a teacher who, after years of burnout, began scheduling her planning and grading during her energy peaks and using her low-energy hours for walks, meditations, and silence. Her burnout didn't just fade, her love for teaching returned. Perhaps one of the most heart-opening parts of the book is the chapter on boundaries. Time cannot be mastered without them. The author talks about the silent power of saying no. not as rejection, but as protection. Each no is a yes to something more aligned. And yet, so many of us fear disappointing others, so we overcommit, we stretch ourselves thin, and we betray our own priorities. The book shares the transformation of a nonprofit leader who learned to lovingly say no to board requests, late-night emails, and constant availability. She feared being seen as difficult. But instead, she became more respected, and more impactful, because her boundaries gave her energy to serve from overflow, not depletion. We're also guided to embrace the sacred pause. In a world that glorifies hustle, pausing feels counterintuitive. But silence is where wisdom speaks. Mastering time means creating space to breathe, to reflect, to reconnect. The author suggests a weekly ritual, an hour each Sunday to review the week, celebrate the wins, learn from the misses, and set intentions for the days ahead. This gentle ritual becomes an anchor, a compass, a recalibration. One reader shared how this hour saved his marriage, not because of some magic system, but because he began to show up differently, more present, more thoughtful, more aware. There's also deep emphasis on eliminating time thieves. These are the silent distractions that steal minutes, then hours, mindless scrolling, unnecessary meetings, perfectionism, procrastination. The book doesn't shame us for these habits, instead, it invites us to understand their root. Why do we scroll when we're overwhelmed? Why do we say yes when we mean no? Why do we delay starting the project that matters most? Time mastery, we learn, is an emotional and psychological journey. It's about healing the parts of us that confuse busyness with worth, distraction with relief, delay with safety. One of the most transformative concepts is that of the daily highlight. Each day, we are encouraged to choose one thing, just one, that, if completed, will make the day feel meaningful. It could be writing a page, having a real conversation with a loved one, taking a long walk, or solving a tough problem. This practice cuts through the noise. It grounds us in purpose. It reminds us that a productive life isn't one where everything gets done, it's one where the right things get done. The final chapters are deeply philosophical. The author invites us to look at time not as a resource, but as a sacred trust. We do not know how many years, months, or days we will have, but we do know that we have this moment. And in this moment, we have the power to choose. To choose presence over distraction, clarity over chaos, purpose over pressure. We are reminded of the story of a woman who, after surviving a near-death experience, changed her entire relationship with time. She no longer rushed. She no longer lived for someday. She said yes only when it lit her up. Her life became quieter, slower, and more radiant. Ultimately, how to master time management is not just about getting more done. It's about becoming more alive. It's about waking up to the truth that our hours shape our days shape our years, and our years shape our legacy. We are not victims of time. We are its stewards. When we live with intention, with rhythm, and with clarity, time expands. It stretches to hold the things that matter. It becomes less of a chase, and more of a dance. So the question we're left with is not, how can I do more? But, how can I live more fully in the time I have? The answer lies not in more apps, more planners, or more to-do lists, but in deeper presence, kinder boundaries, and a fierce commitment to what truly matters. Because in the end, time mastery is life mastery. And life, when lived on purpose, becomes the most beautiful creation of all.